Well, hey there, guys. Pastor Greg here, and man, it's good to see you. And here we are. We're in the middle of this global pandemic. In fact, at the time of this recording, we're 6 weeks or so into this shelter in place, stay at home, no schools. Many of you are working from home or you're furloughed. Restaurants are pick up, delivery, got to wear masks to go in the grocery store. And so this is where we are. And I just thought it would be really helpful to try to host, to try to have a just practical conversation about mental and emotional health. And the reality is we're all in this together. In fact, I can't think of another time where we're like literally all experiencing the same thing, but obviously it's hitting us at different levels. And so I've invited my friend Troy here to join me in this conversation. So, hey, Troy, thanks for taking some time to join us today.
Greg, good to see you as always, and super excited to contribute in any way I can to what Miami Church is doing down there. Love it. Love what you guys are up to.
Yeah, well, thanks, Troy. And so just a quick word so we're all on the same page. Troy is a licensed therapist in Chicago and has been doing this for a long time and works with people, a lot of issues with depression and anxiety, relationship communication issues, all kinds of things he's been doing for years and years. And Troy and I were actually, our paths actually intersected in 2003, and we got to work alongside each other there, and we've known each other a long time. And in fact, we're friends, and we've stayed in contact. That we talk regularly, and I would say I get some free therapy, and it's much needed. So that's a little bit about Troy and my interactions. I know Troy's helped hundreds and hundreds of people. It's always been life-giving. And so I thought Troy, in this season, so much uncertainty, so much stress, so much anxiety, we're all experiencing it. Like, how would you coach us? How would you coach us to handle, to manage all of that stress, all of that anxiety?
Yeah, it's a great question, Greg. A lot of people are asking this. I asked this of myself too. But mostly what I've been talking about with clients in my office, or actually on video right now, would be this idea that if we can pay attention to our emotions before they sneak up on us and kind of overwhelm us, we can do a better job of handling and managing how we're doing. We first have to know how we're doing. So one way to do that is to rate where you're at on a scale from 1 to 10 in terms of intensity. 1 being obviously the lowest, 10 being probably the most intense you felt in your whole life. So if we're talking about anxiety, if we're talking about sadness or anger or fear, so if we use fear, it's, 10 would be, this is the most I've ever been scared in my whole life. And right now I could put myself at a 6 or at a 4 or at an 8. And my experience has been, as we start to do this and we pay attention, like this is what's going on with me and how intense it is, we tend to underrate and underappreciate how intense this is, especially these days. So whatever number you choose initially, you might want to bump it up just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can use a few clues as you practice this, because it really does take take some time to figure out, am I really at a 6, or what's the difference between a 6 and a 7? Some of the clues that you can use are if you notice physical changes. So if my hands start sweating, if I clench my jaw or get tense in my neck or my stomach. I think sometimes we can tell when in our voice, if we get louder or if we start getting sharper in our tone. And certainly if we feel like, oh my goodness, I feel like I could cry and I don't even know why. Those are all clues that this is more intense than you might think. And the goal, obviously, like I said, is to keep them from sneaking up on us. So sometimes it's actually good to just check in what number you're at a particular time. Like some people do it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is where I'm at right now. This is the highest number since I checked in last. Just kind of getting used to, where am I at on this scale? Is it the sadness? Is it the fear? And that matters because as we go up, we tend to go faster. So if you're at a 6, it could be like 6, 7, 8, 9, and then there's consequences because it's going so fast. And it's true that it does that, but I also have seeing that as we get better at realizing where we're at, it doesn't go quite as fast because we're catching it earlier in the process.
Oh, that's interesting. You know, I resonate with that on multiple levels. Um, One, I think it's hard for all of us sometimes to really own where we are. I want to give
Yeah,
myself credit. Like, say I'm at a 6, I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah,
3, 3.
yeah, yeah.
Because I want to view myself better than I really am. And then secondly, obviously it depends on when I talk to you. Like if I could talk to you in the
Hmm.
morning, I'm like, oh man, it's great. And then something
Yeah.
happens and later that afternoon. And so I like that idea of, multiple times a day. It's almost like you check in multiple times a day and kind of, where am I? And then
Yeah.
what's fluctuating. So
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say I do this, Troy, and I'm, over the course of several days, multiple times a day, I'm kind of looking and let's just say I land on a number, then what would be key to say I want to lower this number, right? Because I'm trying to avoid the explosion. I'm trying to avoid
Hmm.
the 7, 8, 9 boom.
Hmm.
What would be some like practical things I could do so now that I'm aware of it, what do I do to bring it down?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that the number or the threshold that I tell people to look for is starting at a 6. When you're at a 6, then you're going, okay, I need to do
Mm,
something.
yeah.
And actually, sometimes sadness, people talk about it being lower instead of higher. But either way, what you're looking for is when you're at a 6 on whatever scale you're looking at, what kind of things can I do to intervene and make that number go in the direction that I want it to go? Um, and uh, this takes practice as well, and it takes some experimentation. But the easiest one to start with is taking a few deep breaths. And there's lots of reasons for that, as I'm sure you know, but
Yeah.
it slows us down, our heart rate, our blood pressure. It helps get more oxygen into the brain so we can think. It's just really, truly the best place to start. Another thing that I've found that people have used is tensing and relaxing your muscles.
Hmm.
And you kind of almost can imagine doing that from top down, and it's not like I can tense my scalp, but I can like my jaw, my neck, my shoulders,
Right.
and just kind of work down and see if that helps relax and let go some of the tension or some of what you're feeling. I feel like another idea is to go through your 5 senses. And what that does is that just, whatever I'm smelling, tasting, seeing, touching, hearing, it gets me into the present moment. So I'm not quite as worried about what just happened. I'm not as nervous about what could be happening. I'm in the moment. And so going through your 5 senses in that moment is or can be helpful. It's actually okay, and it's a strategy to distract yourself for a little while. Generally, if it's a healthy distraction, that's better, but
Right.
it really can be just shifting your focus for 10 or 15 minutes and you gain some perspective as you've taken your focus off this, whatever this issue is, and doing something physical, going outside, taking a walk. If you can't do that, at least walking around your room or changing your physical position, that can actually be helpful too, to help move the number in the direction that you want it to be moved.
And
And you
is
just pay attention.
Yeah, and as you're saying this, I'm processing like, so again, I'm seeing two different ways I can approach this. One is you could just kind of schedule this,
Yeah.
right? Like, hey, I know it's a season. I know anxiety's up. I know uncertainty in my job or this or that. And so, at these points throughout the day, I'm going to put in some of these practices. Or the other angle I'm feeling is like, oh, I'm aware. I've got some awareness. I can feel myself going up the scale.
Yeah.
And if I hit a certain threshold, then boom, I need to go take a walk, or I need to breathe, or I need to, do one of these
Yep.
exercises.
Yep.
Uh,
And some of them, it depends on the situation you're in. Some of them are easier or harder to do, but you can always find something where you can do something to change the trajectory.
right,
And it's an experiment. You got to just try and find what
right.
works for you.
And what works for your environment. If you can't go outside but I mean, there's something about outside breathing,
Yeah.
fresh air, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I think for me, the breathing one is, if something happens with one of my kids, or, I can feel that slow build up of
Hmm.
just anxiety. you know,
Hmm.
the change location is big for me. And also just the, you know, those deep breaths, and it
Hmm.
just has a tendency, you can feel it. You can feel
Hmm.
the coming down. You feel it. It's huge.
Yeah.
Good. What would you say, like another practical step for someone that is feeling all of this anxiety, maybe even a little bit past 5 or on the upper end of the
Yeah.
scale? How would you coach someone like that?
Yeah, I would say kind of the remaining additional step that really deserves its own, category because it's so important. All those things I mentioned are very helpful, but really there's the number one thing can be reaching out to talk to somebody. And it doesn't have to be a therapist. It can be a friend. It could be just someone that
Yeah.
you know is available and that you can trust. There's an old saying that I learned, from other therapists about you either reach out or you act out.
Yeah.
And I've also heard it said, which I think is true, is you either reach out or you leak out.
No,
Because
that's good.
if I'm upset, that's going to come out, even if it's coming out sideways and not a big blow up. So thinking through who are the people that could help me either on a regular basis, like you said, or in a big, I need help right now kind of way. And then also being aware of the people that might be unhelpful and steering away from them.
It's,
And yeah,
yeah, it's good.
yeah, and avoiding that. And truthfully, I think the most important thing that I want to say, Greg, is that um, this you have to experiment and you have to be kind to yourself as you're working on this. You are probably doing the best you can in this situation on this day.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best ever, but it's the best you can do right now. I believe God gives us grace, and I think He wants He wants us to extend that to ourselves at times as we're learning something like this that's new.
Yeah. And this is so good. There's so much there. I mean, that reach out or act out, reach out or leak out is so true. I see it in my life. And in fact, I would just say these past few weeks, as I've, again, I'm staying in touch with so many people in the community, part of our church, and I see like this marked difference. So people that I would say are reaching out, I mean, they're staying connected. We're doing our neighborhood teams, which is our groups. We're doing those on Zoom. People that are dialed into phone calls. We're doing prayer time. We're doing all these things where we're trying to stay connected as best we can. People that are actively engaging as I talk to them versus people that aren't, right? People that have kind of gone the isolation route, and not just isolate your home route, but like we're all doing that, but the pure isolation. The difference, as I talk, the difference in the tone, the difference in the perspective, the difference in hope, and even whatever's even going below the surface, stuff that I don't even know about, right? It's so marked. It's just so like obvious. Like I can almost tell in a 5-minute conversation with someone whether they've been reaching out or
Mm.
isolating.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's just, again, I believe and I know that we were created by God. We were hardwired for community. And even though community looks a little different right now in
Mm-hmm.
this season of global pandemic, and we can't have coffee, and I can't hug you, and I can't see you on a Sunday gathering at church. So community looks different, but that doesn't negate that we were still hardwired for community,
Yeah.
and that we need each other. We've got to have each other. And even this kind of like Zoom, we're on Zoom right now and I can see you. It does something for the soul. It does something. And I can't encourage people enough. If someone's watching this and you're feeling all these things, it's like we're all feeling these things. We're all in this together. It's all hitting us at some level. And whether you're lonely or bored or scared or whatever the emotion is, it's legitimate. So reach out, find who are the safe people. And again, I would just say here, obviously we're here, our church, Miami Church, our community, our leaders, we're here to help. It's hard, and we're here to help you, and we would love to be here for you. And so any way we can, all of our social platforms, you can direct message us, send us message, hello@miamichurch.com. If you want to send us an email, I mean, we have a prayer team that's been praying. We have people that are ready, volunteer leaders, great people all over the city who would love to help you. And ultimately, I believe that the ultimate help is in a relationship with Jesus. And the good news is that God loves you and he's got grace for you, and whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, it doesn't in any way affect how he feels about you. And so we would just love to help you any way we can through all that. So please reach out to us, reach out to someone, please. And don't go through this alone. I don't know how many more weeks this will go. Who knows when things open and doesn't matter. Reach out now. And so that would be my encouragement. Troy, any last words from you there, Troy?
No, I'm with you. And even though we're thousands of miles apart, we are in the same position. And I think reaching out is a huge part of it. And even if that's scary, to just find some people, or try to find some people that you can connect with.
Yeah, that's a good word. Last word, and I'm sorry, I won't go too long here. A guy reached out to me last week struggling with alcohol. And he reached out kind of tentatively, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's thinking I'm going to like judge him or like, oh, you idiot. I don't know what he's thinking, but I think once I was able to go, okay, yeah, okay, good. You owned it. Let's get some help. Let's work on it. And that was his attitude. He was ready. And I think that's so true. I think my tendency is to want to look better than I am and to protect myself and not, but man, if someone's safe, reaching out, I find that most people really want to help, and we're all in this together. We get it. And so anyway, reach out. Troy, thanks for your time. Thanks for taking some time to join us. And I do believe this has been helpful, and I appreciate it.
You bet. God bless.